most of all, something that I want to talk about during the course of this campaign is the responsibility of fathers to their children. You know, I've introduced a fatherhood initiative in the United States Senate that is going to provide more support for fathers so that they can support their children. But I also know, as somebody who grew up without a father in the house, that ultimately a government can't force a man to live up to his responsibilities. And that is something that we have to all take upon ourselves, and that's something that's got to be spoken about during the course of this campaign. So here's the upshot. You know, there's going to be a lot of talk during this campaign about what George Bush hasn't done. And we know what that list is. We know it's a long list. And there's going to be, every single candidate can lay out a greatest hits of how George Bush has failed America. We will talk about Katrina and how we had our fellow citizens standing on rooftops. We can talk about this disastrous war in Iraq and how, as a consequence of that war, not only have our young people suffered, but America's standing in the world has suffered and has to be transformed. We will talk about how the corruption in no-bid contracts have left billions of dollars unaccounted for, billions of dollars that could have been invested in schools and bridges and hospitals all across America. We can talk about those things, but ultimately, what I want to spend talking about is where we go from here. What kind of future can we paint for our children? Can we create an America in which all of us come together to make certain that every child has a decent shot in life, to make sure that folks aren't bankrupt because they got sick, to make sure that everybody can find a job that pays a living wage, to make sure that our senior citizens can retire with some dignity and some respect, to make sure that we lead with our values and ideals. That's going to be just as important as talking about George Bush. You know, a while back, somebody came up to me and they said that they were so proud of my race, so proud of the campaign that I was running. And they said that, you know, their son, who was 13 years old, was for the first time paying attention to politics. And said that seeing me campaign had made that boy think differently about what was possible. And I understood what he was saying, and I understood it from the perspective of that boy. Some of you saw that I went down to Selma, Alabama, for the 42nd anniversary of the March across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And it was a magnificent event celebrating John Lewis and all the others who had marched across that bridge, not knowing what to expect, being turned back by the horses and the billy clubs and the tear gas, and having to stagger back and regroup, and having themselves reminded by Dr. King that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, that we have to keep on striving for something better.